The desert was burning gold beneath a dying sun, the kind of light that painted everything with the color of memory. He rode alone, dust clinging to his coat. His name lost to time, but whispered by the wind, a cowboy who never sought glory, only peace. The first time he heard her scream, it came from across the canyon, a sharp echo that carved through the silence like a blade through fate. He spurred his horse hard, dust spiraling behind him like smoke from Judgment Day. When he found her, she was cornered, a young Apache girl, eyes wild with fear, surrounded by bounty men who looked more like wolves than men. He didn't think. He just drew. The sky cracked with gunfire, the smell of gunpowder and blood mixing in the evening wind. When it ended, 4 men lay dead, and she was staring at him with something between fear and awe. He lifted her to his horse, her body trembling, and rode into the crimson horizon without, knowing that moment would rewrite the rest of his life. She spoke little, her English broken, her eyes speaking of things words couldn't hold. He didn't know her name until the firelight of that night when she whispered, "Nyara," and told him she was the eldest of 4 sisters from the Eagle tribe. Her people were bound by a sacred law, a code older than the rivers, that if a man saved the life of one sister, he must take the burden and honor of them all, marrying each to bind the spirits of fate. The cowboy thought she was telling him an old legend, something carved in stories, not truth. But the next dawn, he found himself surrounded by warriors, their faces painted with silence and fire. The chief stepped forward, speaking slowly. "You have saved what was sacred. Now you belong to what you saved." And so began the strangest chapter of his life. The Apache camp was alive with colors he had never seen. Feathers of red and gold, smoke curling through the morning light, songs that rose like prayers to the sky. Nyara stood before him proud and sorrowful, and behind her were the other 3 sisters, Amari, whose eyes were soft as dawn, Tasea, fierce as a thunderstorm, and Neva, quiet as snowfall, but watching him with unblinking grace. He didn't understand how he could belong to 4 hearts at once, or how fate could twist mercy into a chain. Yet the chief's voice was final. They wrapped him in ritual, painted his hands with ash, and spoke vows in a tongue that seemed to come from the mountains themselves. That night, as drums echoed through the desert and firelight danced across their faces, he felt both blessed and cursed, the savior and the captive, the man who tried to do right and found himself bound to something he could never escape. Days turned into weeks, and slowly the sisters began to open their hearts to him in ways that tore at his soul. Nyara, the eldest, carried the spirit of duty, teaching him the ways of her people. Amari's laughter broke the silence of his loneliness, reminding him of something called joy. Tasea challenged him, testing the steel of his resolve and the measure of his manhood. But it was Neva, the quiet one, who saw through him, who looked past the dust and blood and saw the brokenness that lived behind his eyes. They would speak little, yet when her hand brushed his, it felt like forgiveness. But peace in the frontier is a fragile thing. One night the sound of gunfire rolled again across the desert, bounty men returning for the gold they'd lost and the pride he'd shattered. The camp burned, chaos reigned, and he fought like a man who'd already seen death's eyes before. Nyara was struck by a bullet meant for him, her blood darkening the sacred earth. In that moment time stopped. He carried her in his arms, her breath shallow, and she whispered, "You are one of us now. Protect them." Her words were the weight of eternity. He rode through fire, through smoke, through the ghosts of his past, saving what remained of the sisters and vanishing into the night. When dawn came, the desert was quiet again. Only the ashes and the wind bore witness. The cowboy never spoke again of love or war. He became a legend whispered in campfire stories. The man who carried 4 hearts and lost one to fate. Some say he still rides beneath the same endless sky, guarding what was once taken, his soul bound by love and law, haunted by the echo of an Apache girl's last words.